friends. Happy Saturday. Welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm so happy you guys are joining us today. It is our last day of live broadcasting. So if you've been watching us for the last couple of weeks, I'm so glad you're joining us. If you're new to the podcast, go ahead and subscribe. You don't want to miss a single episode, especially the replays coming up, so you can get to know new authors and exciting books. So I'm so glad you guys are joining us today. I am coming from different locations. You guys can tell I am broadcasting live from Houston at BrawlCon. So anybody in the area, come and check them out. They have amazing tabletop games going on all day today and tomorrow. So you guys can come and chill with us and kind of say hi. But you guys are here for the podcast, so we're going to get started. Let me bring my guest. Hello, Miss Jonni. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me.
It is such a pleasure having you on the podcast, and we're here to learn all about your new book. So I'm going to turn it over to you for the book reading and kind of get us started. Here you go, madam. Welcome.
Okay. Well, for this reading, I'm going to preface it a bit because this actually started as an 800-word short story. It was a challenge in a group I was in to write an 800-word story about snow, and the book just developed from this. So here I go. Laughter echoed off the cold canyon walls. Kendo picked himself up off the ground and brushed the cold white stuff off his backside. He surveyed the paltry remains of his tribe. It was the first time they had laughed since their homes and crops were destroyed by floods. On another day, he might have admonished them for laughing at him, but not today. What would be the point? They climbed the sacred mountains, searching for the fabled homes of their ancestors. They were tired, cold, and hungry. They could use a good laugh, and he laughed along with them. But he couldn't laugh too long. He needed to find a new home and something to eat. It's good to hear you laugh, my friends, but we must climb these mountains to find the home of the old ones, a land which has been told to us in our sacred songs. I fear we do not have so much time to laugh at an old man's clumsiness. Kendo turned and headed once more up the mountains, and once again his feet skidded out from under him and he crashed to the ground. This land is hard to walk on. Someone in the tribe said, "Perhaps you are doing it wrong." Kendo brushed himself off again and asked, "Do you suggest Kendo does not know how to walk?" We certainly weren't suggesting Kendo does not know how to fall. The tribe erupted in laughter again. A young boy fell to the ground and rolled around laughing, then leaped up to his feet and yelled, "Hey, this white ground is very cold, but it is also very soft." Kendo responded, "It is not so soft as you might think, little one." Mora, the medicine woman, beckoned to the young boy, "Bring me some of that white ground." The boy scooped up a handful and took it to the gnarled old woman. She took a pinch of it and tasted it. "Ooh, it is very cold," she said, "but it has no flavor." She turned and pointed into the tribe. "Ragna, does your child still burn?" "Yes, Mora, he does." "Bring him to me." Mora took a handful of the white dirt from the boy. It was even colder than her first taste. She rubbed it into the baby's forehead, but it disappeared. The crowd hushed. They had never witnessed such powerful magic from Mora before. She kissed the baby's forehead and said, "He feels better. If he gets hot again, rub some of the white dirt on him like I did." She turned to the boy and said, "Give him a rest. Give him the rest of your dirt." "I cannot," the boy cried out. "It is gone." The tribe was stunned. Kendo stepped into the hushed crowd. "This must be sacred dirt. This is why it is so white. We are not allowed to own it, but the spirits allow us to soothe the baby with it. We must be close to our destination now." Mora asked, "What if we are not allowed to walk on the sacred dirt? Is that why you fall?" Kendo stood tall and said, "If we are not allowed to walk on the sacred dirt, then we will humble ourselves before the spirits of our ancestors and we will crawl across it." A loud crack, followed by oohs and ahs, was heard on the other side of the tribe. The crowd parted and two of the tribe's hunters appeared, each carrying a rabbit. "So," Kendo said, It looks like we shall have some meat tonight. How much water do we have left? Very little, the water porter said. The flood spoiled our river, and we could not refill our water skins. Kendo frowned and asked the hunters, has anyone seen any sign of water? No, a hunter said. But since we climbed above the stone quarry, Kendo scanned the valley below him. If only we could find some water, we could use the rabbits to make enough stew to feed us all. Mora could still taste the dew from the baby's forehead on her lips. I think, she said, the spirits of our ancestors have provided sacred water for our stew. Kendall looked around but saw no water. Mora waved her arms to indicate the white dirt that lay everywhere. When I put the sacred dirt on the child's forehead, it turned into water. Kendall looked at his medicine woman, then at the starving tribe, and asked, can we use sacred water to cook our food? Mora asked, can we turn down a sacred gift from the spirits? The tribe found shelter in some rocks and set up camp. They ate stew and told stories into the night. Tomorrow would be a new day.
Ooh, that was priceless. Hello. I have questions. We need to start discussing about it. I need to know. You said 800 words on snow. How did this idea come about, and when did you decide we're going to just make a journey out of this? Tell us.
Well, the idea just came to me, what am I going to do with snow that's going to be a little bit special? And I thought, well, what would snow mean to someone who had never seen snow? Now, I never saw snow till I was almost in high school. I grew up on the West Coast at sea level, and we had to drive, several hours to find snow. That's where I kind of went on. How it became a book was the response of all the authors who I'd read it to in that club. They said, "You got to expand this." Now, the book itself, I didn't set out to write a book. I set out to write 10 or 12,000 words every month. And every month I released a new story that tailed on the one before it. And I think I was up to about 30 or 36 of these stories when Amazon kind of put a kibosh on what I was doing, because I had a growing readership who wanted to see the new chapter every month. And Amazon stopped telling people that I released a new chapter. So I just said, okay, I went back and I divided them into 3 sections. This is the first volume of the trilogy. And this volume is about man versus nature. And the next volume is about man versus man. And the final one, which I haven't actually completed, is man versus God. So, and
Okay.
verse may be a rough word. They're not fighting God, but there is a lot of spirituality and witch doctors and things that they do have to fight.
I think I need to unpack all these little pieces you just talked to us about. You were publishing chapters. How? Like, was it just a published ebook chapter that you were putting out there, or were you doing
Yes.
Vella? Okay, so you were doing just ebook chapters on Amazon.
Vela didn't exist until they stopped me from writing chapters.
Are you serious?
Absolutely serious.
And now
So
we
put
don't even
that
have
together.
Bella. And now we don't even have
Yeah.
Bella. Okay.
Yeah, it's gone.
So weird. So then you decide, okay, we're going to make a trilogy out of this. How did the idea of the trilogy come about? Did it automatically say, I have all these things we're going to combine? Or does it become a little bit more, involved? How did that happen?
Well, this book is the start of their epic journey. And towards the end of this book, they do start to run into other people from other tribes. And they find out that they're not all nice. And without giving away, something happens. And that was when I started. It wrote itself. The characters told me what was coming up. And they met these other people, and some of them were bad. Some of them were slavers. And that kind of led into a whole new series of stories, which became the second book. man versus man. Um, and so it was really organic. It once they stopped me from releasing the chapters. Well, they didn't stop me from releasing. They just stopped them from selling. The sales went like overnight to zero. So
Okay.
so I said, okay, I'm going to repackage them and do it a different way.
I love it. I love the fact that you're just like, I'm going to try something new and see what happens. So it's so exciting. When you're looking at this story, because you're now in this third book of this series, do you know where you're going with these stories, or do they just come to you? You said the characters are speaking to you. How much guidance are you getting, or is it until you start writing that you don't know what's going to happen?
Well, to be honest, I got a little upset when Amazon stopped the sales, so I shelved it, and that's when then I wrote two more versions of a magic series I have, and then I did another episode in my virus series, but I just finished the last book of that, and so I'm going back to it, and I have to go back and reread the second book, which I've just started rereading, and I think I'm about halfway through the third book, so I'm going to go in there and find, because what I do remember is that the medicine woman went through a special ceremony to die, because it was her time, and she found a hidden place, went to the ceremony to die, but one of the opposing not so good tribes found her, collected her bones, and are stealing them away. And because they have her bones, she is not able to move off into the next realm.
Okay, so I need to know, in terms of setting for these books, are we talking current Earth, somewhere else? Where does this book takes place? Because I'm all curious now. Like, you got my undivided attention.
It's between 10 and 12,000 years ago.
Okay, nice. So we're looking at what our ancestors could possibly have been doing if they were trying to,
It's Yeah, it's prehistoric. It's a relatively short period before history. At this point, history is in songs, and before we have a written history, um, woolly mammoths still walk the earth. Saber cats, and various other dangerous creatures of caves and jungles. Which, by the way, they have to traverse through all of those.
you're not nice to these poor people. Like, you're trying to see who's gonna get destroyed first. I'm pretty impressed. Like, this is a journey of like survival with everything. So I'm loving it. So you got multiple books going on. How do you switch between one project and the other? Is it easy for you? Can you just kind of like flipping a switch, or does it take long to switch back and forth?
Well, to start with, my first book was about 160,000 words, and I took a look at that and said, I cannot release this as a debut novel, and I'm going to have to write something else that's a little, and something else being down to about 120,000 words. So, by today's standards, I'm old school and I write big books. But so that's when first time I shelved the book and went and switched gears. Um, I was writing book three and well, no, actually, I was writing book 2 and 3 for a series that is my magic series. And I realized book 2 was getting too big, and I split it into 2 and 3. That's really hard to do. But
Yes, it is.
so I ended up writing those 4 books, and I went, okay, I'm going to shift gears because I just want to get away from these people for a little while and work on something else. And that's when I wrote the second and third final book for the virus series. I'm closing up my series that I have open because if I ever want to have a opportunity to submit a book to a house to do traditional publishing, I can't do it being the third and the fourth book of a series. So I have to close them up. Of course,
How many?
in that time, I also did 2 standalone books and publish them myself. But
How many series do you have currently open? Because we got a lot of projects coming and going. You have a lot of things happening here and there that I'm like, ooh, that's a lot. Like, how many series we got open, and what are you working on now? Because I'm all going like, okay, where are we at? Tell us.
okay. Um, my magic series is called The Lost Art of Magic.
Okay.
I have completed and published 4 books in that, and those 4 books really contain most of the action of the story. But I do want to do a 5th book that will be called The Librarians. The Librarians are guys that keep sneaking in and out of the story throughout all 4 books, and that is more of a wrap up.
Okay.
Here's how all this happened. Here's why they're so mysterious, but that's I'll get to that someday. Um, then there's this book is the Groll, the Chronicles of the Groll is the series, and I have the Calling of the Groll is published. The next one, um, I've written it, and I have previously published it, but I've removed it, and I'm going to rebrand it under my new publishing company. Um, and then the third one we talked about is going to be the Man versus the Spirits. Um, I have the Virus series, which is the mother of all viruses, was the first book.
Okay.
And the Queen of all viruses is the second book. I am currently in the final edits. I've already sent it off to my editor to do a proofread, and I'm incorporating what she said, and I'm going through it one more time to make sure it's all polished off. And that will be the third and final book of the Virus series. I think that's all my series. I,
You have
I
a
didn't really
very
set
busy.
out to write series. I'm sorry.
Okay, what do you mean you didn't set out to write series? What happened? How did that transition?
I wrote the Lost Art of Magic, and then let me start off with, I thought I was terrible at world building and character development. I I didn't think I knew how to do that, but the reviews are coming back saying the world building is fantastic, the characters are great. Um, I wish I could see more about these people. It kind of ends, you know, it ends, and what happens next to them? Because it ends with them in a pierogi, leaving they're in the swamps. They lived on an island in the swamp, and they're leaving their home, which was burned to the ground, and that's where I left you. They're leaving home to find someplace else to go. So people said they wanted more, and I went, oh really? And I gave them more, and I had me in the meantime I published the virus book, and again people tell me they I had my grandchild's grandmother on their father's side, the grandmother who's like 80 or 90 years old. She said that the technical stuff was over her head and she kind of skimmed through it, but she loved all the stuff about the people and all the action and everything else going on. And I had technical people who read it and go, they loved all the technical stuff, all the computers and the programming, and they kind of skimmed through the love story. My therapist read it and said, and she's like, oh, a gaga over this love story between these two professors who you wouldn't think would go together. So I'm getting encouraged by how much they like the characters in my books to go ahead and extend it a little bit.
That is such a
So
good encouragement.
yeah,
I love it. It is awesome. So, what are you currently working on now? Because you got a whole bunch of things you could be doing. What are you working on now as all these books are out there and people are enjoying them?
I am still doing the last revisions on the last virus book.
Okay.
Um, and this morning I negotiated for a cover with a cover artist, and crossing my fingers that it comes in and I'll be able to use it. Um, that's really what I'm working on is to I have well, and once I finish writing it, I have to move it into my formatting software and add all the front stuff that goes into a book and count up how many pages it is. Um, then, as I said, I've started rereading the Grohl Chronicles, and I'll be finishing up the last book. Um, when I'm done with that, I think I will probably go back to finish the Magic series and button it up. But I also have a book I wrote about a tribe in South America long time ago, and that's actually has a lot of stuff that's already written, and I will probably go and try to pick that up.
So I'm really enjoying all the things you have going on, and the fact that you just enjoy it and you don't have issues switching from one project to the other, which is really a lot of fun. I'm also glad that you kind of said it, when you get tired of these people, you go hang out with somebody else. So I think it's amazing. Tell us, Miss Jonni, what advice would you give to an up and coming author who's trying to do something like this and wants to start writing? What would you tell them?
Um, my words may not always be met with the kindness that they want, because today anybody can write and publish. the The trick is to write something that is well written and can be absorbed by the public if your plan is to publish it. So my advice would be always keep going over it and over it and try to write feelings into your book, not just he did this, he did that, and um, you gotta somehow express how they felt, and you don't always have to tell your audience what they felt. Um, you can just kind of feel it with them and draw them into it. That would be my advice.
It's a really good way of looking at it, and that's a great advice for all aspiring authors and just authors in general. It's just to remember that your characters feel and to put them on the page. So I enjoy that a lot. Tell me, Miss Jonni, where can our viewers find you? Where can our listeners get more about the books? Where are you located? How they can connect? Please share with us.
I'm in Denver. Come find me. No, 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 no. Wait, don't come find me. Um, y- you can. I have a website. It's www.jordanatlargebooks, and it's Jordan with a Y. JordanAtLargeBooks.com. Um, Probably the easiest way to find me is if you purchase your books through Amazon, you just go to Amazon and search for Jonni space Jordyn, and that's Johnny with an I, Jordan with a Y. Um, I also have books available on Google Play, um, and they're available on. Well, they are available through the distributors, but I don't know that anybody is using that, accessing that yet. I did put them up there because I'm going to Ontario at the end of the year to do a book signing.
Nice.
So
Easy peasy. People can find you. They can connect. Absolutely come and hang out. I love it. So before you leave us, madam, are you ready for the lightning round?
uh-oh.
Super easy.
Okay.
Don't think too hard on these. Let's see how you do. Home cooked meals or restaurants?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. No, uh, my fiance and I, we do like to do some home cooking, but there are times I go out and look at the kitchen and say, going out.
I like that. Wizard or pirate?
My books are more likely to have a wizard, but I'm telling you, next year when we go to the Renaissance Fair, I think I'm going to be a pirate wench.
I like. Very nice. Hotel or camping?
Camping.
Okay. Ebooks or print?
Print.
Ooh. Here's a little different. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh, you know, my top three. would be flying, which is usually what I get in my dreams. Invisibility, but I think my favorite of all would be to be a shapeshifter.
Ooh, nice. I like those. Fabulous. Miss Jonni, it has been truly a pleasure hanging out. Any closing remarks for us?
Just come find me.
I love it. Congratulations again on all the books. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
lovely reading. And I hope you had an amazing, successful rest of the year. So appreciate it. And to our viewers and listeners, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure. We have one more interview to finish up our season. So remember, this is the live recordings and broadcast of Inside the Minds of Authors. So if you're hanging out with us, meet us back at 2:05 Central Time for the live recording or catch all the videos. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you guys shortly. Bye.